Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland, and this podcast is dedicated to helping families love God and use tech. Today, we are finishing up our summer tech series. The last one recorded in a vehicle, and we have covered so far how we can use the correct tech. How do we know if it's a good fit for our children, if it's the right time of life, and how to use it well, if the tech itself is a safe fit. Then we talked about how to make summer fun and how we can have real world adventures, so embodied and synchronous and all those wonderful things. Go back and listen to that as the previous episode in front of this one, but also how to make them analog adventures. So not just being unplugged because that's magical, but being unplugged because it's a really positive thing for our young people, and it develops them into the people God has designed them to be, and then they should use their tech from that. But if you don't know who God's made you to be, it's very hard to use tech well, because tech makes you lots of promises and is very distracting, can be very difficult to use well. So that was our second episode, and today it's how do we keep our tech safe? So today's conversation is going to be hopefully information you've heard before, so it should be the shortest of the three, because it's simply a reminder that yes, even in summer, even when we're traveling, when we're in planes and cars and at friends' houses, we're having people over and we're playing outside a lot more, that technology is still there. It still can be an amazing addition to our family, and it can have this very sneaky habit of sliding into all the nooks and crannies of our lives to the point where we might actually be using more of it than normal without even thinking about it, because it's just, well, we had more downtime, or we were gone all day yesterday and today's a day at home, and this is when we just use our tech, and that can be beautiful if it's being used intentionally and we're keeping it safe. So the three parts of keeping tech safe today are building hedges around our family, and then our networks, and then our devices. In that order, starting off with hedges around our family. It's really two parts. The first part is our family needs clear expectations that are clearly communicated. And then the second part is we need a very clear relational standard for our tech use. And I'm actually going to start with the second one first. So talking relational standard. That means when we have tech use with our children, it isn't about having the best boundaries. This is why we talk about hedges. These are not impermeable safety networks that our children will never be able to breach. Instead, it's a relationship. And we tell our children that we love them and that we give them good gifts. And that means if I give my child good gifts, that everything he or she uses is going to line up with that expectation. So my child says, Mom or Dad, can I play this game? Can I watch this show? Can I listen to this music? Can I have this app or device? The first thing is I'm going to make sure this is a good gift. I can lovingly then say no, because my child knows I love to give you good things. This is actually a line you can use, parents. I use this with my 10, 8, and 5-year-olds. I'm like, hey, I like to give you good things, right? And they go, yeah. Okay, if this was good, I would want you to have it, right? And sometimes the explanation doesn't make sense to them, so you don't have to go into a whole dissertation on, well, I'm going to prove to you logically that this is right. We're just saying, hey, I love you. You know that I love you. Yes, I know you love you. You know that because I clothe you, I feed you, I sing you songs, I play with you, I make quality time, I correct you. These are loving things to do. And in this case, I give you good tech. I give you all the tech that's awesome. Here's some tech you can use. Here's the shows we watch or the games we play or whatever it is for your family. This isn't a good fit. And then you're welcome to give them an explanation. Like for my kiddos, they keep wanting to play certain games. I'm like, hey, we're not going to do that because it has this built in on the Drools tech side, which inevitably there's something baked in. But even if it's an older game, we don't use that because your father has issues with games, right? That's my repeated explanation. And then the other one is, I can't think of a time when I would prefer you to be doing that than to be having all the fun you have. Like think about the last 72 hours and all the fun you've had. What fun would I prefer you didn't have in order to make time for this? So those are some talking points. And again, your family might play video games and you say no to one game and yes to another. Those are still the talking points. Like, hey, it doesn't fit our family expectations in this way. It doesn't benefit you in this way. And when would I ever have you do that instead of this other kind of fun? Because it's not a net gain for us. Yes, it could be an exciting moment, but it's not a benefit to you and I love you. So that's the first part, is that it needs to be communicated that all the decisions you're making are because you love your children. And therefore, when they make a mistake, they can come to you because you love them. You're not looking for them to make mistakes so you can punish them because you love punishing them. You love disciplining your children. You love correcting them. You love removing unhealthy things because you love your child, first and foremost. So they can bring you their mistakes because you love your child. And you're going to not just drop the hammer, but you're going to correct, and you're going to encourage, and you're going to redirect. And sometimes that might mean some tech goes away, but it's not because you're mad at them. It's because you hate seeing your child get hurt, and you love seeing him or her grow and develop and become amazing. So that's the first piece. The relationship needs to be there, regular communication at meals, in the car, about life. And there's that reset level of respect and trust that needs to be there. So when a child's relationships and responsibilities, emotions, sleep, enjoyment, and time start to go down the tube, you intervene, and those are your talking points. Hey, I've noticed these are the bad things. All right. So that's the first part, the relationship. The second part, which I had said first, the former, not the latter, is that your child, in using tech well, is going to be beholden to a family set of expectations that you've set up and communicated clearly. So first is the relationship. Second is the clear communication. So you're going to have a family framework, a set of expectations that everyone understands. This is when we use tech. This is where we use tech. This is the type of tech we have that's acceptable. This is the type of tech that's not acceptable for whatever your family reasons are. If you need help with that, you can go to gospeltechworkshop.com, and it's $50. You can get the 2-hour, if you were to do it all at once in one sitting, workshop. It runs you through reminders on tool and drool and reset, and then steps you in. The second half of it is walking you through this workbook. And there's a PDF workbook. Again, the whole PDF, it'll show you 100 pages. It's not really. It's like 40 pages of doing the framework. The rest of it is either prepping you for that with reminders on tool, drool, reset, or resources for like, how do we talk about video games? How do we do this other stuff? So gospeltechworkshop.com, you can go check that out, or you can use anything. Use this conversation. Go find the other podcasts on making a family tech framework. We have multi-part series here on the Gospel Tech podcast where you can find that. So use those. But the point is, your kid should not be surprised that what he or she did was inappropriate. Maybe they didn't understand the nuance of it. Maybe they're still learning as they grow that, wow, I have more freedom, but that also means these other things are options. But they shouldn't be shocked that what just happened was inappropriate, or that you're redirecting them back to a rule that they knew but didn't realize how that applied here. That's all lovely. It's perfectly fine to make a mistake and go, hey, you know what? The way we treat people in real life is the way we treat people online. Like that extends to this. We give forgiveness. We ask forgiveness. We use kind words. But if they've never had that explained to them, or they've never been shown that and modeled that in real life, we cannot expect them to extend that into real life. So the first part of building a healthy hedge around our family is making sure we've clearly communicated expectations. And 3 areas we should start that in. There's 6 in the actual framework in the Gospel Tech Workshop. You can actually get in and check out the PDF and see what those 6 are. But the 3 that we're going to talk about is they need to know when and where technology can be used. So both where it's being used. So like, do we use it at the dinner table? Do we use it in our bedrooms? Do we use it in the car? And then when and for how long? So can I use it at 6 a.m.? Can I use it at 6 p.m.? Can I use it as much as I want or for a certain amount of time? And if it's 30 minutes, let's say, can I use it in 5-minute increments? Like your kid needs to know that. And you need to have thought that through. And there's no right or wrong answer. There's wrong answers. If it hurts your child's reset, it's wrong. And that becomes your communication. Hey, we've noticed that more than 30 minutes is too much because your emotions get off or your sleep gets wonky. Like, okay, that's a great conversation, but now your child knows. And you can now communicate clearly when something goes wrong, but also when it's going right. Hey, I've noticed you're using this really well. This time limit seems to be really working well, or this locational expectation, you're really handling that well. And it allows you then to say, you're trustworthy in this much. You've asked me for this other thing. I can now let you do that because I can trust you over here. And it also lets you go the other way. Hey, you blew it on that one. I gave you a smartphone, as one family told me. I gave you a smartphone, you committed a felony. So here's what we're going to do. We're not just going to say you have to live in a hole because at some point you're going to be 18, but I want to support healthy tech to your purpose in Christ, not just open, blatant rebellion in a digital space. So here's what we're willing to offer you. In this case, the family said, we're willing to offer you this app on our device. And the child said, I'd rather not use it. And the parent said, great, that's an option. Like, absolutely, we support that choice as well. So that's where we start, first with a hedge around the family. We build it with clear expectations and open communication. The reason I spoke about communication first is all the expectations in the world don't matter if your child doesn't understand that you love and are fighting for him or her, not just with them when it comes to technology. So then we go to a hedge around our network. The network is the thing that gives you wireless internet at home. And these can be tricky. They can, some families, especially here in the Northwest, we have lots of families working with Amazon and Microsoft and Google and Valve and lots of very, very smart people who can build private servers. And I love that. But for those of us who were former middle school teachers like myself, we know that we love our children and we want to do it well, but it can be tough to do, especially when 12-year-olds are so smart and talk to all their friends. So how do we keep our networks safe? There's really two ways. There's two specific pieces of hardware. This is not, again, to stop your child from ever making a mistake. It's to make sure that mistakes are out there, that there's a hedge, that your child, when trying to make good decisions, can make them well, and that if a mistake happens, you become aware of that. So there's two pieces of hardware. I like the Bark Home. It's a piece of hardware, unlike the Bark Phone, which is a standalone phone with Bark software on it, or the Bark Software, which is a type of accountability that helps you know when mistakes have been made online, but allows a high level of trust and independence and scales really well from first time on the internet to more freedom on the internet. This is a hardware device, a thing that you plug in. So when the internet comes into your home, it goes into a modem. And then from that modem, it goes into a router. All right, so the modem basically translates internet signals into usable signals and tells your router what to send out to your computers. So if you have a laptop, if you have an e-reader, if you have a Roomba, if you have a smart TV, if you have a gaming console, if these things are on the internet because they don't have their own internet, then that's coming from your Wi-Fi router, which is connected to that modem, and some devices are 2-in-1 if you have like an Xfinity device. The problem with baked in like Xfinity safety is you can turn your internet on and off. You can have some baseline, like we block these websites, but there's not a lot of nuance to it. So mom might have to work tonight, but you just turned off your internet at 8 p.m. So the cool part about something like a Bark Home is you can set by device settings, like, oh, these devices go to sleep, but this device is still on. That's nice. You get the user history by device, so we can see where the family laptop has been in the last 24 hours. And it still has some of those Bark safety measures baked in, and it's very, very functional from an app. And if you need an emergency shut-off option because you're at work and something just happened, you can shut off the home internet and just deal with it when you get back, right? You're at a wedding, you're at a sporting event, you're at work still, something goes awry and you get a notification, hey, this went wrong on your home internet, you can shut everything down. So that's the Bark Home. It's a device you actually plug in, and it's a beautiful hedge. When added to the relationship and the clear expectations, it's just a way to verify that everything is still okay. You're not on the internet all the time. You don't need to be hunting your children down on the internet. If you feel like you have to hunt your children down and follow their every single step on the internet, they're probably not ready for the internet. A child that can't be trusted to have independence on the internet shouldn't be there. So instead, you say, hey, you're not ready yet. Show me these real world behaviors with your siblings, with our family, with a reset, and then we can extend it to the internet. Once they reach that internet phase, for your Wi-Fi, the hedge should be something like a Bark Home or a Griffin router. So I mentioned there's a modem that takes the cable from the wall. That modem goes to a router that sends you your Wi-Fi signal. That router can be a Griffin router, and it's amazing. So it's fast, it's encrypted, so no one can get on your nanny cam from your cul-de-sac. And then third, it allows you to set up those same tiers of technology use. So you can have a tier that's your doorbell and your thermostat, and then a tier that's your smart TVs and your e-readers, and then a tier that's your school devices and kids stuff, and then a tier that's mom and dad stuff. It does take some setting up. Griffin has a great customer service response. The app can be a little persnickety, and you just need to know that up front. At the end of the day, you need to do something. I use the Griffin router, not the Bark Home, because I needed a new router, and the Griffin router's blazing fast, and it's worked great. But I will say it does take, because I mean, you have to set up your wireless printer and you have to tell it what each of these devices are. They have great tutorials online. And again, you can contact them either through the messaging off their website or just call them. And they're phenomenal to work with. And they understand that we're not all tech specialists. So those are my two for building hedges. The point is, if someone brings a device to your home that doesn't have internet and they want to connect it to your internet, this is a babysitter with an e-reader. This is a friend who brings a gaming console over. This is a kid who brings a burner phone, which is a phone that doesn't have its own internet anymore. It might be a 2015 iPhone, or a Kindle, and they want to connect to your internet. Well, you're going to get notified that a guest is logged on, and all of the stuff they do online is going to be trackable. So you're going to be able to see, hey, I see that we were online at 1 a.m. through this extra device. What's going on? Or as a mom told me, she's like, yeah, I could tell my son brought a burner phone on because we had a fifth device log into our network. And I'm like, hey, where's the burner phone? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, well, here's the deal. Someone just brought a device on. I talked to your sister. She says it wasn't her. You say it's not you. And I know it wasn't mom and dad. So what is this fifth device? Like, we're just going to shut off the internet until we find it out, right? Like, this is still communicative. Yes, there's a hard standard. The internet's off, but I'm not doing this because I'm mad at you. I'm doing this because someone is lying, and that's important. Lying is bad. It's the devil's native language. It's bad for our hearts. It's bad for relationships, and it's leading to harm. And if I can't trust you, then this internet just became optional. And guess what? Mom and dad's devices are the only ones that get internet now, like until we can figure this out. Not the smart TV, not the gaming consoles, like everything else is shut off. What an amazing resource to love your child well, who wants to make mistakes, but is not going to have that be easy to do on your purview. That brings us, though, to the third area. If we have a hedge around our family and a hedge around our devices, hedge around our network, we need a hedge around our devices. You might tell your child, hey, the internet's going off, and your child might turn to his or her friend and say, hey, you have a hotspot. Turn it on so I can log in to your hotspot and have free internet away from my parents' supervision. So I cannot help you control the devices of the kids who visit your home if they have their own cell service. When I talk device, I mean a device that is intended to help us stay connected. When we go out into the world, I have a smartphone. It's great. It's the dumbest smartphone you've ever seen. It doesn't have an app store. It doesn't have social media. It doesn't have YouTube. It doesn't have anything cool. I literally have posted videos of my smartphone so you guys can see just how dumb it is. But super useful. It helps me get around when I travel. It helps me stay connected to friends and family. It helps me listen to audiobooks, especially when I'm driving and flying places for speaking. I can cover a lot of content that way, and it's incredible. And yet, it has accountability. I've got Covenant Eyes baked right into, I use the Safari extension now, so everything that I look up online to other people who care about me see. That's incredible. And now, let's talk about your child. If that smartphone is intended to keep us connected when we're not home, it means you shouldn't have it out at home very often. When kids visit your house, they should be used to dropping it in a basket, on a shelf, on a counter, in a drawer, whatever it is for you, in one of those really cool RO devices, goro.com, where it's not locking your phone in, but you drop it in there and you have this competition for who can leave their phone in there, and the app tracks use and pickups and all that information. That's super cool because it's a nice way to stay motivated, to try to reach the longest point for the day. You can do a sticker chart. You can be after a week. The people with the most, their phone in that device, the most time, win a treat or a $10 gift card to Amazon or dessert for the, a fun like Minchies or ice cream. I don't know who has Pinkberry, whatever you've got near you for ice cream and yogurt. But the point isn't we're putting our phones away because we want to be legalistic and we're scared of them. The point is we trust you with a phone, and that phone is for when you're not here. So that's to keep you connected. We have Wi-Fi for when you are here. When you're here with the people who are here. You're hanging out together, put your phones away. You're with our family, put your phone away. I'm with my family, I need to put my phone away. My work email can wait till work time. My texts with my friends or even with work stuff, we've got books coming out August 13th. There's a bunch of communication on that. And I'm constantly having to fight the desire to check it out and post that one more thing and respond to that one more thing because it's exciting, but my family is my priority. The book is good, but it's only good in its right place. It's not good over my family. So in that, we're modeling that for our kids. We put our phones away. Unless you're like an ER nurse and you need to have it on you all the time. I get that. There's some military people, some first responders. I understand. We're talking by and large, we need to model our phones are for when we leave the house and then they go away. And if you need to check and see if your mom called, you're welcome to come back in this room and check it and then walk back to the rest of them. Or she can just text me because I'll have my phone and make sure that my ringer's on so I can hear her, or I'll put her on emergency bypass. So even when my phone's on silent with no notifications, her text still dings. You do that under contacts, go to edit, scroll down ringtones or text tone, and then emergency bypass. And that means you'll get a notification even if your phone is turned on silent mode, sleep mode, notifications are turned off. You'll still get that through. So that's a nice option. But the hedge around our devices means, one, smartphones are not just free game inside this house. We either have a specific time of day when you can go check it, or it's just when we leave. And we're choosing to not acknowledge other communication because we're home right now, and that's what we're doing. The second piece is having accountability on those devices. When your child leaves, you want something like Bark, something that allows you to give your child the free space of the internet. Remember that the cul-de-sac of the internet is where kids go to hang out. It is where they are going and meeting friends and experiencing new things and learning, but it's also next to a freeway and a federal penitentiary in the red light district at midnight, because we call it the cul-de-sac, right? Well, this is the new cul-de-sac. It's where kids go to play. Like, right, that cul-de-sac next to a freeway where mistakes happen fast and information travels quick, and you can get from point A to point B with almost no effort. That's really neat, and that's dangerous. And a federal penitentiary, we're not so scared of what your child is going to do online as much as who's online that might get access to your child. The red light district, a good portion of what is done on the internet has to do with pornography, a good portion of social media sites, a good portion of the top 100 websites. The top 100 websites is something like 6 of them are porn websites, but they account for more than the top 10 for traffic. So we want to make sure that we are keeping in mind what is out there and that we're being mindful. Bark is a great way to do that. It allows you to see updates. It's like a digital dog goes with your child onto social media, out with their friends, and that dog notifies you when something goes wrong. It can be something simple as a phrase of "nobody likes you." It can be something as simple as a text of "you're so cute, I can't believe you're only 12." You will get that notification, not a whole history of what's been said, but that notification. Can you keep a secret? Comments about self-harm, searches about self-harm, those will you'll get notified about each of those. And I do need to let you know, this doesn't work great on an iPhone through apps. So let me break that down. If your child uses an iPhone and they get on Instagram just through a browser, it'll do a great job. But if you are using an iPhone and your child has an independent app, it does not do great. It can't see direct messages. It can't see what's happening on the app in real time. If your child has a Bark phone and is allowed to download an app for social media, it will still do a great job. It can keep accountability and see all the conversations. But through an iPhone, you can use a Google phone, you can use a Samsung phone. Those are Android-based. But iPhone focuses heavily on user privacy, even for minors who are being approached by unsafe adults. It still focuses on user privacy. So we are hoping, praying, and supporting Apple's choices to support minors, and they have made steps in that direction. It's just not fully there yet. So, in conclusion, this conversation focuses on how do we keep our children safe online. You do that, or how do we keep our tech safe this summer, We keep it safe by having family expectations clear and open communication about our tech, knowing that we are here to fight for our children, to be their best advocates and ambassadors even into the tech spaces. Then we build hedges around our networks using something like a Bark Home or a Griffin router. And then we build hedges around our devices. And we remember that our mobile devices are meant to connect us when we're not at home. And when they are at home, they go away. And when they are out of our home, we are keeping accountability on them. Something like Bark. Covenantize is great for accountability with pornography. But I found that most young people, pornography is not the number one issue. Pornography is there, but it extends into depression and self-harm and just general meanness, body image issues. Those are coming from beyond simply the pornography side. You can use them both in tandem, certainly. Again, Covenantize is what I use because I like making good decisions and I like being accountable for those good decisions. So that helps me. I would encourage you to think about that for your own family. Are you accountable with your device use? Because none of us should be the only ones who see what happens on our devices and on our internet. We're never really alone, and our tech should reflect that. God God sees it, why don't we have some other people see it too? So that's our conversation for how do we make our tech safe this summer. I hope it was encouraging. If it was, would you share it with someone? Would you check out our social media and communicate if you have any questions at Love God Use Tech on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Would you go to gospelcenteredtech.com? That is where the books are being sold. My book, Gospel Centered Tech, Anna's book, The Graceful Disconnect, which is a family devotional and specifically aimed at moms on how do we focus our hearts and our minds on Christ in a digitally saturated and overwhelming world, and how do we raise up healthy youth in a tech world. So those are coming out August 13th. We're excited for it. Tell your friends, because we want more families to have these resources, more families to be equipped to raise healthy youth in a tech world. And then would you join us next week as we continue this conversation about how we can love God and use tech?